cloud. Well, hello, Jonathan. How are you?
Morning. Namaskaram, Mirna.
Oh, it's wonderful to see you. And today we're going to talk about rebooting your personal philosophy. And we had to reboot this episode because when we recorded it a couple months back, my computer decided to be short on storage. I blame the computer because it's easier than blaming myself, the human condition. But we're rebooting this episode and we're going to talk about how to reboot maybe your personal philosophy. So before we get started, I'm going to click over and we'll do a little bit of screen share and kind of explore this together. Let's see, share and present. I'll just click present the right number of times it takes to comply with my request.
It's,
Yes, it's
uh,
not doing it. Present. Ah,
there we go.
you just have to ask a few times. I used to tease my son Brian that one of the best skills he learned was in gaming because you would just try and try again and try again and try again, and then you beat the boss and then you go to the next level. So he has the most unbelievable patience when technology doesn't work. Where for my boomer generation, you want to push the button and have it work. And if it doesn't work the first time you push the button, it's broken. Like, fix it. I push the button, it's supposed to work. So, very different orientation, and his is much better for technology. But I thought this was a good image. This person has tattooed a reminder to stay true to who he's decided to be, the choices he's decided to make. And rebooting your personal philosophy can sometimes say, do I need to realign anything? Or now that some number of years have gone by, maybe I need to rethink. Maybe my high school self needs to upgrade my personal philosophy, or my college self needs to upgrade my graduate, view of life. So here's a couple things we'll look at. And at the end, we'll come back to our memes. But here's a meme on one side. Some days you eat salads and go to the gym. Some days you eat cupcakes and refuse to put pants on. It's called balance. So, our personal choices, right? We get to honor them and be held responsible for the outcomes to our personal choices. But here's some jumping off points that we can talk about. And then I'm going to want to hear as you've come through your life and worked with your clients, how they kind of define, do they have a personal philosophy? So, as a definition, a personal philosophy is your broad view of life, humanity, and existence, including your place within it. So, do you use a religious lens to look at, are you leading a virtuous life? Do you use maybe a Buddhist lens to say, my job is to reduce suffering and find peace and happiness? You know, do you live the life that your friends approve of or that your parents approve of? Kind of asking those questions, I think, is where it all begins. Which of my existing beliefs resonate with me on a deep level? Like, if I was going to do an inventory, what would I keep and what would I discard, now that I'm looking? What are the most important things for me to accomplish in my life? So, if I thought I just want a job that pays me $100,000 a year, a very common goal, but now my job takes all my time and all I do is work. Do I have to make the trade-off for the $100,000 a year to have no other life beyond work? Once you achieve some things, then maybe a reboot about what matters to you. Maybe there's a $100,000 job that gives you your weekends. And then are there still things that you value that you want to accomplish? Are you working on those? What currently isn't working in my life, and how can I change these things? There is a question in The Work from Byron Katie on the worksheet that says, what do you never want any more of? I never want to hear, my spouse bitch at me about dishes in the sink. I never want to pick up dog poop. I'm hiring a dog walker. I never want to drive a commute 5 days a week. Sometimes starting with what I want to get rid of is the easier list. It has emotion attached to it, like I'm ready to get rid of this. And then how do I turn my beliefs into actionable habits? Well, hiring a coach like Jonathan is one way to start that. How do I actually make changes? What habits, what actions would I take to change things up so they're more of what I want now versus what I thought I wanted? So, yeah, your opening thoughts, Jonathan, on developing a personal philosophy and kind of taking the wheel of your life and directing it.
Yeah. I think most times we fall into the trap of wanting something and then taking the action which is going to be the easiest act, like the easiest thing or action to take to
Mhm.
get the or to achieve the goal that we were thinking of.
Hit the
Um,
easy button.
yeah, so that's like the tendency, like including myself, like the automatic default mode is
Mhm.
like, oh, just do it the easy, like do it the easy way, or like, or don't do it, you know.
Mhm.
Um, I think that's like the MO for
Mhm.
um,
Mhm.
like the automatic mode,
Mhm.
and that's when it's not actually it's uh, it's good to understand that that's the MO, but
Mhm.
then is just a matter like just one decision away from changing the whole thing, because
I love
literally
that.
all you have to do is not like a lot of like dramatic changes at the same time. It's just making a decision of what is it that I value, that I consider important, because then you will find out that there's each each human has a very different standard for what's valuable. For
Mhm.
someone, money is very valuable. For
Mhm.
somebody else, family might be more valuable. Somebody else, friendship is more valuable than family and money. So
Mhm.
like it's like a whole mix of priorities.
Mhm.
So setting up your priorities or what you find meaningful. Once
Mhm.
you know what you find meaningful, then from there the decisions that we make they're actually easier to make, even though they're harder, because we have a bigger picture in mind, you know.
Sure.
So
We
uh,
might be going for big things instead of just rolling down the river and taking what comes.
yes, so that's when for example, part of my, I would say, personal philosophy is, even though personally I don't think I have like one philosophy, because
Mhm.
it changes with time. It's like a metamorphosis that
Sure. Well,
happens.
there's an evolution to it. And of course, there are multiple components about money, about the place you live, about the people in your life, about your health, about a spiritual life. All of those are in the mix, right?
Yeah. So in my experience, I think um, personally, for example, when it comes to decision making, um, if if my if I put as a priority not to hurt somebody else with my actions,
Hmm.
that's a simple choice, simple decision that has a lot of impact. Like everything that I will do that day, you
Hmm.
will, the first thing that it will pass through my mind, it will be like, is this going to like hurt somebody else,
Hmm.
or
Hmm.
is it, or it will? And then from there, making the decision to take action, it's way easier. So I think um, understanding what you really value, it's key. So then you can create your own philosophy, or you can also have like you can, I don't like when people look up to somebody else, but
Hmm.
you can choose somebody else's blueprint, like a Buddha, for example.
Like a guide stone. Yeah. Just
Yeah,
like a
it's
compass direction of north versus
uh,
south. Hmm.
uh-huh. If you are like, if you literally have like no idea of your own, then you can choose like
Hmm.
somebody else's like blueprint, And you can stick to that one for as long as it works. That's also
Think
totally fine.
about the famous 4 minute mile, where they said humans couldn't run that fast, and then somebody did. And then the following weekend, five more people ran past the 4 minute mile. And so while you may not have been looking up to the person, now that you know this is possible, it's also possible for you.
Yeah.
So you can notice people are getting things accomplished and go, wow, I wonder if I could do that, or some of that, or something like that. And so humans can do a monkey see, monkey do kind of thing, where you see new possibility when you see other people accomplishing things like that.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
liked your focus on decisions. Let me just ask you this question real quick. Not only can you make a new decision, you can step back and see, what decision did I make that brought me here? What decision did I make that has me hungover every Monday? And I super hate
yes.
Mondays. So should I make a different decision on Sundays, that I don't drink, or don't drink so much, so that my Mondays are good for me instead of misery? You could look at the decisions you've already made that have yielded results in your life, and then look to that for guidance to make a different decision.
And I think like forgiving yourself or not being so hard on yourself is key
Yes.
for that part. Because once you go back to like tracking your decisions that
Mm-hmm.
put you on the spot where you are, either for good or for bad. Like,
Mm-hmm.
but usually, if you track the decisions that you made,
Mm-hmm.
it's usually not that pleasant the feeling that comes after knowing that like, oh my God, I could have done this differently. So not being so hard on yourself and understanding that, hey, okay, you messed up.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. It
Mm-hmm.
can happen and it
People
happens
make
all the time.
mistakes, and
Yeah.
sometimes you repeat them until you get real good at that mistake. And
Yeah.
then you decide to make different mistakes just for variety.
So
It's like I'm gonna make
exactly.
new mistakes for a little while.
So yeah, so once you messed up, just understanding that is not that big of a deal as long as you're still alive and you like nobody else, you didn't damage and nobody else, you're in a good spot.
Mhm.
Um, which takes me back to the other point, which is choosing or like understanding what you value the most. It just makes uh, your whole experience like way easier. And that's, I'm pretty sure what we were talking last time is sometimes you don't know what you like, which is fine. I've met a lot of humans that do not know, like, it's actually interesting because there are humans out there that haven't developed any like passions or like likes or like they're very like nothing tastes to them. Like they have like taste buds in their tongue or something. Um,
Sometimes people are saddled with so much responsibility early. I'm thinking about someone who did some video editing for us in Pakistan. And his father died when he was in his 20s, and he sort of had to step up and be head of household to support his mom and the siblings. And so his other friends are having, fun going off to university, and he's grinding at a job because he's now standing in his father's shoes.
mm,
And so we get circumstances in our lives that do impact what we do. Did he choose to have his father die? No. Did he choose to step up? Well, his personal philosophy meant that that was the honorable thing to do for the family. But there are consequences to that. So I think sometimes people take on responsibility and never look up from the grind they're in to say,
yeah.
what else could be possible for me? And
And
when could I shift this? When the youngest sibling is out of the house, do I get to go lead my own life? Or forever will I stand in my father's shoes and never have my own individual life? Rebooting your personal philosophy gives you a chance to ask the questions in a fresh lens. What do I really like about this and I want more of? What am I so over? And I don't want any more of that. And then what can I do about it?
yeah. And and also, and that takes me to once you identified what you actually like or find of value in your life, you're gonna have to defend your position, which
Mhm.
is another, it comes after. but
Yeah.
you're like sometimes because of your own personal philosophy, which might not be aligned with somebody else.
Hmm.
Let's say somebody wants to be a vegetarian,
Hmm.
not to eat animals because they,
Hmm.
you know,
Hmm.
and then somebody else
Hmm.
uh, loves steak and they're gonna try
Hmm.
to convince you otherwise.
Hmm.
And they're gonna mock you and they're gonna do all kinds of things. And that's only like one example, but like
Hmm.
in general, you have to be prepared for what comes next after you
Hmm.
choose to present yourself the way you want to be. Because like that's when there's something in the universe like it's like an energetic field of like resistance that
Yes.
like really if you really want to go like push through it, you have to be very like it has to matter to you what you believe in.
In
So
order to keep going.
yeah,
Like
because
you have to
otherwise
make
it's
a
gonna
real
be difficult.
decision and
Yeah.
then do that decision, stick by it. We see a lot of what the spiritual community calls vibration separation these days. And there was another example that I saw a Twitter influencer that used to be in a retweet group with me. And he's since on become famous and but he mentioned this past week on Twitter that he'd been a vegetarian, kind of as close to vegan as possible, but he was doing dairy and other things. And he's had this sickness continue to develop. I don't know if it's autoimmune or what it is. He didn't say. But his doctor finally recommended he's a man that's in his late 30s, married, a couple of kids, a big career. His doctor said, you're just going to have to add protein. You're not going to get enough protein for what you need, for what we need your body to do for you on plant protein. You're going to have to add animal protein. And so he said, I'll try it for 6 months because I can't get everything done in my life and also be sick. Like I have to get well. So I'm just going to try things until I can turn out well. I'm just going to keep trying. And he has people no longer speaking to him, friends
Yeah.
for years who are no longer speaking to him because of what his diet is, because he's trying to get well and following a doctor's advice to add animal protein. And sometimes that's how you find out. One of the definitions of a true friend is that when you're making changes, your friends root for you. Like, good for you. You're going to try. I want you to be well. You
Yes.
don't have to live by my prescription. I want you to be well living by your prescription. And then people that their identity is caught up in their politics or their lifestyle or the, nonprofits that they support, and you step out of line of that, and then they vibrationally separate from you. They don't want to spend time with you. So there are consequences to making a personal philosophy or rebooting one and then sustaining that. And it's just part
Yeah,
of the
this is
territory. It's just
yeah,
part of the
this is the
territory.
sustaining. So once you get to that point of like having to defend your ideas, sometimes they're gonna even make you think you're going nuts. Hey,
Yes,
how come this one doesn't want to bomb other countries? There must be something wrong with him. Uh,
right, right. Or why is he okay with that? And they have a dividing line about who they'll spend time with based on decisions you're making. Now, of course, there are virtuous ways. If you're beating your kids, you won't let your kids go to that house, right? I mean, if there are things that are really wrong that are happening, you call the cops, you report them to child services or whatever. There are things that are wrong that you say that's outside of how humans are supposed to behave. There's danger, there's pain, there's risk to vulnerable populations, whatever that looks like. If it's actually causing real harm, you can't support that. But if it's a lifestyle choice, like how you eat, who you vote for, an opinion that's been put on social media about a societal matter, homelessness, poverty, the middle class, whatever that is, people should be free to express themselves. And those that love them should love them as they're doing in evolution, because we're all evolving, right?
Yeah, and also something that I just remembered. Usually, when you're trying to make your own philosophy or developing your own like the way you want to live your life, because
Mhm.
basically that's what it is.
Hmm.
The family philosophy, it's so rooted in
Yeah.
our, like, even in our,
Tradition, we don't question it.
even in our like our DNA, it's everywhere.
Yes.
Like,
Yes. Of course, this is what you do because this is who we are as a family, who we are as a people. And you might say, am I that though? What if I want to not do that part? I like these other parts. I don't want to do that part. And then you'll have some interaction with people say, we want you to do all the things we do. And you might say, I'm going to do some of the things. I'm not going to do some of the things. And then the chips fall where they may. So I think asking those questions as you reboot your personal philosophy and then you're able to defend it and continue to evolve. But humans, we try things, some of them work, we try other things, some of them work. We stop doing the things that don't work and we evolve. There's time goes on and evolution happens.
yeah, just stick to what works for you. If it doesn't, you can always, like, disregard it, like, change it. Like, you don't have to stick to it.
I have
And
a question for you.
yeah.
And I was talking with a client this week about how something feels in her body when it happens to her. Like, what does it feel like when, this circumstances comes upon you? It's been reoccurring. And if it really makes you feel bad, that's your first warning light where we have a yellow light going. This makes me feel bad. And your body keeps score, like your stomach will churn, or you'll avoid getting there on time because if you were honest, you don't really want to go at all.
Mm.
Whatever it is, when you can check in with your body, sometimes it's more honest than your brain is because your brain will have excuses, but my family expects me to go.
Mm.
But my friends expect me to go. Well, who would I be if I don't go? I don't know, somebody who doesn't want to go. Like, is it okay with me if I'm sometimes somebody that doesn't want to go? And you make up your mind. Is it okay for you? But sometimes your body is the first clue.
Um, so yeah, it it manifests in through the body. It
Mhm,
does. Yeah.
mhm. And when you're feeling bad, um, that's something to pay attention to. Why does it feel yucky? I can't like tangle through explaining it to myself, but it feels yucky. And set some time aside and sit with that. Talk it through with a friend, not in your friend group, or with a coach, as I had this conversation this week. This is why that feels yucky. And your boundaries are being crossed, and they're pretending they're doing it in a nice way, but your boundaries are being crossed. You're not wrong
Yeah.
that this is unfair to you. It's unfair to you with a smile. It's still unfair to you. And so what are you going to do about it? I think as coaches, we ask that question sometimes. Okay, so that's not working. What are we going to do about it? Do you
And
want to keep taking it, or can you move towards not having that happen anymore?
yeah, and taking responsibility
Mhm.
for it, it's
Mhm.
key. It's like that's
Mhm.
the only way we can start.
The
And
person
just,
who changes is us.
yeah, and
Mhm.
who go back to the question, who will you be if you don't go to the baby shower, or to, like, the party
Mhm.
that you really don't want to
Yeah, the
go? Or do you,
neighbor's son's high
uh,
school graduation or whatever
like,
it is.
who will you be? Honestly, in their minds, you might end up being the jerk. That's fine.
Mhm.
Nothing else is gonna happen. So I it takes me to the next point, which is, that's when becoming selfish. It's actually, it's I think becoming more selfish has to be explored uh, in a different way, different perspective.
Mhm.
Because personally, I believe that if you become more selfish, that means you have more time to take care of yourself. So that
Mhm.
means you improve in all the areas of your life, even if it's just a little bit here and there and there. That means tomorrow you feel better. If you feel better, people around you are going to be more happy. So obviously, if you become selfish in the sense of, like, taking care of yourself, it's a good thing. Because most people think they are selfish, but they're really not. They're just like um in a in a trance, like they don't have their own ideas.
It
They're just following
automatically.
everybody else's ideas just because, like, for example, part of my personal philosophy can be always to keep a sense of wonder, like
Mhm.
always ask questions. And that takes me sometimes to places where I didn't even want to know the answer after. I was like, maybe I shouldn't. Why did I want to know the answer to that one specifically? Why?
It takes
Uh,
some courage. It takes some courage because it's uncharted territory sometimes.
um,
And I love that you brought up the idea of being selfish because I think for both men and women, especially if they've had the responsibility of being, the manager or leading a family, or, you have these responsibilities where you're making personal sacrifices. If you're looking after children, or, you're managing the P&L for 100-person, division, or you've added these responsibilities and you make some personal sacrifices in order to meet your deadlines, fulfill your commitments, feel like you're doing the right thing, you're doing a good job. Over time, that can add up to you don't fill your cup anymore.
yeah,
Sometimes for coaches, we say, well, what does bring you joy? And they're stumped for an answer. Like, I haven't sought joy in 5 years. Like, I don't know if I could tell you
yeah.
what I
How do
would
you
do to
how do you even stay
relax.
alive? You know?
hmm I don't do things to relax. And then I feel selfish. And so then you have to unpack that and say, this is not only incorrect, it's a limiting belief. If you take care of yourself, you're investing in the most important resource you have, which is you. You're investing in your resource so that you have the bandwidth to do what you have to do. So you have the physical strength, you have a strong immune system, you have the peace of mind, you have friends you can rely on because you've actually spent time with other people, not at work. You know,
Yeah.
so it's an investment you make in yourself so you can continue to be strong in what you do, but it erodes over time and we can lose sight of it.
So yeah, we can definitely help with that. Other thing that helps a lot is understanding your position in life. Yeah, because yes, you can be a manager of a big company, but
hmm
there's many companies and there's many managers and
hmm
there's all kinds of things. And at the end,
hmm
remembering that even if it's something like let's say work, and you work as, even if you're like an astronaut or something,
hmm
you love what you do,
hmm
it's important, but at the end of the day, like after you finish that, you come back to your house, you're like sitting in your couch or probably laying down in bed at night, and then if you just come back to the senses of like, I'm just a human having an experience in a planet that I'm still trying to figure out, like
hmm
what it is,
hmm
what water actually is.
hmm hmm
Understanding that like simple thing of once you die, nobody cares. So
hmm
all the decisions that you're making, and all the thoughts that like people thinking of you, like they're worrying about what somebody else is going to think, like, oh, if I don't go to this party, or if I don't do this, or if I choose this career path instead of this other one, which happens a lot in like Asian countries. I've met a lot of like kids that are like, oh, my father wanted me to be an engineer, and then the other one wanted to be a doctor, and like that's it, you can only have those two
Those are the
choices.
two choices. Yeah.
So those kinds of especially for those individuals, it
Mhm.
is paramount that you grow some like backbone, and you're like, no, I don't want to be a doctor.
Mhm.
Actually, I want to be I don't know, an ice cream maker, who knows. um,
Yeah, that there's something that's fulfilling to you that you feel like is your path in life. And, I think one of the challenges for people that are in their 20s and their parents are giving them direction. I was listening to a podcast where this gentleman was saying, I'm telling my son, whatever you decide to do when you get out of school, whatever you train for, make sure AI won't eliminate your job. Like, this is now the new marker of, can AI eliminate your job? computer programming classes have emptied out, like professors, if they're not tenured, are going to not be renewed in the fall because people are not taking computer programming courses anymore because now the bots do the computer programming, like, and they do
Um,
it 5 times faster than humans can do. And so they need much fewer computer programs in the future. And civilizations go through these cycles. Nobody needed to know how to fix cars until there were cars. Everybody
yeah,
was feeding horses, right? And so, but now there are cars, and then whatever comes next, we'll need people for that. And society will have to change and respond to those new things. But giving people an opportunity to explore what could you do and be successful enough in life that you pay your bills and you have a house, and if you want a dog you can afford a dog, and if you want to have a spouse and a family you can afford to do that. So how can you be set up in life to have the life you want? This is what parents want for children. And then there are conclusions like go into programming because computers are here to stay. And it's like, now people are saying become a welder, become a plumber, go into the trades. And so I don't think anybody's super good at predicting the future. But part of the component as coaches that we would recommend is what are their natural gifts? What is a person's natural gifts? And start there. They're very good at this and this. Okay, what else do they like to do? Now, how could that apply to some work in the world that they could
yeah.
do to sustain themselves?
And so something that is like part of my philosophy is which is important, I think, is not to compete with somebody else. Because the
Yes.
moment you want to compete,
Hmm.
you're screwed.
Hmm.
But just becoming like the most competent version
Hmm.
for that day of yourself.
Hmm.
Um, so not to compete with anybody else, but just becoming the most or doing the thing. If I'm gonna do something,
Hmm.
like try to my best of my abilities or capacities or my level of competence to do
Hmm.
it the best way possible.
Hmm.
And that at the beginning it starts very like slow, but after some time, even the smallest things, it's you can start to notice the changes. And they become like very dramatic over a period of time when you actually start um, like choosing the hard decisions instead of like the easy ones. Um,
Hmm.
that's just part of my philosophy, but it has served me a lot. So you can take it as a blueprint of becoming the
Hmm.
most competent person that you can every day, even if that means like learning something or doing some kind of exercise or like taking some time to relax. Just
Hmm.
like being trying to be balanced
Well,
and
so
on
your
point.
human is optimally functioning.
Yeah.
And it needs all that stuff. It needs water and it needs sleep and it needs some social interaction and it needs some peace and quiet. And people require different levels of that, but finding out what you need. I also think it's good, and then we can go look at our memes and wrap up our session today. But it's good when you do decide, okay, I'm a person that shows up on time. And then, of course, 3 days later, you're late because this is how we learn, right? Things go awry. And then you get to re-examine how did the sequence of events happen that I'm late? Were there things within my control and now I can adjust my habits? I get up 15 minutes earlier. I lay out my clothes the night before. I have my smoothie ingredients in the blender thing in the refrigerator, so I just have to hit go on the machine and I'm out the door with my smoothie. What are the things that I could do to optimize my being on time, because that's part of my personal philosophy now. You will fail at some things and then it's a chance to take a fresh look. Is it important that I be on time with 100% accuracy, or is the high 90s good enough? Like if
Mhm.
9 days out of 10, I'm on time, I'm good. I'm living my philosophy. Or does it have to be 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10? What is it you're choosing? So when you fail after you've established it, you get a fresh look at, okay, I need a little modification. Here's what I'll do. And we grow, and we continue to improve.
Yeah, and that's when not being so, I think part of any like good therapy, it's like don't take it so hard if you messed up already, like don't take it so hard on yourself. At the
Mhm,
same time, do not disregard that you already messed up. Like don't just pretend that it didn't happen. Like it
mhm,
already happened, that's fine. Oh my
mhm,
God. You're still
mhm,
alive. What do we do from that point on? That's what
mhm,
matters.
mhm. Well, and I think too, sometimes you'll establish some kind of philosophy, and then you have to know, is it okay to have the consequences that this person doesn't talk to me anymore because I eat meat now? And I guess, okay, I'm going to prioritize my health over someone who no longer wants to communicate with me because I've made a different choice about my diet. Okay, I'm just going to have to take that in stride because I'm prioritizing my health to show up for my family and my business. So I think as those things get confronted, it tests this philosophy that you've established. But it's always wonderful to have a conversation with someone whose shoulders are back, who speaks from the chest, and they know who they are. And part of that is they're following a philosophy they chose, not that was installed in them by family or
Mm,
society. They actively made choices.
yeah.
And that is a happier way to live because you have your own compass that you made, your own guideposts that you live by. People can
And
find you reliable and competent and safe to be around because you're a known quantity.
I was gonna say that eventually, like they people they can't help themselves to like want to hang out with you.
Mm,
That would be a different
mm,
topic, but yeah, even also once, because what if you like, for example, what if you are already like for someone that is right now, let's say in a relationship, and that relationship started with let's say some kind of like ideas or with some philosophy, but then
mm,
at some point along the way the philosophy started parting its ways, you know?
mm. Which
So
happens. Mhm.
so what do you do when that happens? You have to reintroduce a new philosophy, and well, at that point there might be some damage control that we have to take care of, but
Yeah.
definitely doable, you know?
I had an interview on this channel maybe 2 weeks ago. I think it went out last week. A woman who does like marriage and intimacy coaching. So if a couple's sex life is not working, usually communication broke down first and then things follow on after that. But if a couple's therapy is not resolving it, she's kind of the last stop on the train to divorce or whatever. She's like, pull into the station. Let's see what we can do. And most of the time, the communication gets resolved. They're able to kind of come back to the place where they love their intimacy together. They love their relationship again. The spark is reignited. But sometimes it's not the intimacy. That's just what they're blaming. Now their sex life is working fine and they still don't want to be married. It's like, I hate your
Yeah,
job. I don't want to hang out with your friends. I can't have my mother-in-law come to this house even one more time. I mean,
yeah,
it's other things. And so, but that's how you find out. If you work with a coach and you start to unpack what's going on, you get to the bottom of it. And
yeah.
now you make good decisions with good data, right?
And from a perspective that is non-biased, because I
Yeah,
don't
I'm
care
not
if
going to blame
you
you.
know.
We figured it out. This is what it is. And it's not that our intimate life is not working. It's that we don't want the same things anymore. And that's okay. It happens, right? People evolve. And if you evolve this way, it's okay to understand. Go have what you want. I'm going to go have what I want. We don't have to be mad about it. We can just move on. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I think coaching can really help you kind of untangle that stuff that sort of piles up. And okay, let's take a fresh look at our memes. It's always my favorite part. Okay, here we go. And on the left, the nice part about being a pessimist is that you're constantly being proven either right or pleasantly surprised. I knew it wouldn't work. Oh, hey, I was wrong. It worked. You know, in the middle here, no matter what's going on in your life, there's some form of potato that can make it better. Like when all else fails, carbs, you know. So, and then the last one here is a flying cat, and it says, I'm done with personal growth. I've decided to stay intolerable. Like,
Oh God.
I know I'm the problem. I'm not going to change that. Okay, that's a personal philosophy. I know I'm the problem. Get used to it or move along. You know, all right, thanks for sharing. Now we know. So, how do people get a hold of you, Jonathan?
Yeah, people can find me on alivedesign.org.
Mhm.
Also,
Forward slash Jonathan. Mhm.
slash Jonathan. Also, Jonathan R Coaching on Instagram,
Mhm.
um, YouTube, and Jonathan R Coaching at gmail.com
Very
via
good.
email.
All
Yeah.
of those will be in the description below. Have a conversation with Jonathan if you're ready to reboot your personal philosophy or just explore, what is it? How much of this was given to me by family and society? And
Like
then,
how much percentage of you is actually you?
yes, where you
Probably
honestly chose it. You
probably
reviewed
not.
options and you selected one, and how much of it was just embedded. And as we get older, we begin to shed those things that were just bolted onto us by somebody else, you know? So, well, it's wonderful to see you. Everybody, thanks for joining us this week, and we'll see you next time.